Fantastic. So yeah, so we have what was I even saying? So you have the rule-based approach and you have the principles-based approach, right? So there are a number of advantages of adopting a framework approach as to a rulebook approach for regulating the behavior of accountants and auditors. One of the things you need to know is that it's impossible to develop rules that deal with all situations. You know, it's very, very important. You can't develop a rule for everything, right? In a rule-based system, the rules may be interpreted too narrowly, you know, too narrowly. Yes. So how many of you have heard the issue about Ikuapimpolo? How many of you know Ikuapimpolo?
Okay.
Okay. Do you think she should be punished or she should be brought to, what's the word? She should be brought to, she should face the music, or you think that she, we should leniently let it pass?
Okay, so I think to serve as looking at recent in quotes, like abuse of the internet, I think a more lenient punishment should be meted out to her. Maybe rather than being put in prison. If
Caleb says she has many issues. Which of them? So apparently it was a naked picture of herself.
yes,
Her son. I hear it happened sometime last year.
yes.
Yeah, so that's the issue, Caleb. Yeah, so sometimes it's so you think it should be more lenient. So do you think it should be like a case of jail or no jail?
I think no jail, but
Yeah.
a community work will be more appropriate. Yeah,
Appropriate.
because looking at her nature and the way she is, if she's giving some community work to be doing, I think it should be fine, and it
Yeah,
should.
to serve a better purpose.
Yes, yes.
I see.
Mm.
Well, yeah, so that's just a bit into Ghana issues. Yeah. But the ladies on the group, what do you think? What do you think about this issue? I wonder what the ladies think. Anyway, that was just by the way. So with the rules-based system, sometimes the rules are interpreted too narrowly. So Caleb is saying that just like Trump, she should be banned from social media. Then she'll get no attention. And then that one, they have to go and speak to Instagram and Twitter and co. And there should be a basis for the ban. I don't know if
Yeah, that's not bad.
the reason why Trump was banned was because of some of his comments on the elections, and when on COVID, something. Yeah. So I just wonder. I don't know these social media houses, their policies though, but it would be interesting. See, then they have to start banning. I don't know. And that was just by the way. So what you need to realize is that the ethical framework is more flexible and it's able to accommodate different situations, right? It's able to accommodate different situations. And if you bring this to real life, there are some people you would meet them and they'll say, okay, why don't you do this? As maybe they belong to a certain religion. So you ask them, why don't you do this? And they'll say, oh, it's a sin. Okay. Okay, why is it a sin? So it's more rule book for them rather than principles. Why are you not supposed to do that? So that's why if you meet someone who questions and asks you questions, then you find yourself wanting. So an ethical framework is therefore more flexible. It sets out the general principles and requires accountants to apply the general principles to the circumstances of each case that arises. It may also be argued that accountants are professionals with an ethical code of conduct. Consequently, they do not need to have their behavior regulated by detailed and strict regulations. If I were to choose between the rule book and the ethical framework, I would go for the ethical framework because I like the way it's principles based. And in my opinion, that's a good way to manage or govern behavior. Now, in terms of current issues, right? In terms of current issues, sorry. One of the key things that is important to the audit practice is independence. We've talked about this several times. Independence. Now, much of the current thinking on independence has been developed by the SEC in the USA. The USA has played a huge role when it comes to shaping the thoughts around independence. The work of the SEC has followed on from the corporate scandals in the US in 2001 and 2002, such as Enron and WorldCom, right? I'm sure you might have heard these. But if you haven't heard it, thankfully, that's why you signed up for this class. So similar proposals have been put forward in the UK and in other countries. So in the case of Enron, they did what my former teammates would have called Momo-jumbo accounting. In the case of Enron, false accounting and fraud led to the company filing for bankruptcy in 2001. So they were manipulating the numbers. Now, at that time, Enron was an energy company based in Houston, USA, and had over 20,000 employees. It was huge. Enron was that big, right? The auditors for Enron were called Arthur Andersen. These Arthur Andersen people, they provided numerous consultancy services in addition to audits, and were accused of not wanting to raise issues in the audit for fear of losing this lucrative consulting work. So you see, this is what we call some of the threats. When we are talking about the threats, when you are getting more and more work and you are more dependent on one client for your work, One client, you are doing consulting. One client, you are doing non-audit services. One client, you are doing audit services. You know, you are more reliant on them for money or for revenue. And so you will not raise objections that much, you know, and so that's what happened to them here. The audit firm was later found to have shredded documentation relating to the Enron audit. This all caused enormous damage, you know. So Arthur Andersen's image was hugely dented. Many audit clients left and the firm eventually broke up with a loss of 85,000 jobs worldwide. Another company too called WorldCom, a massive fraud discovered at another US company, WorldCom, in 2002, also resulted in bankruptcy and the loss of thousands of jobs. You know, so these scandals, right, you know, left the US government, the SEC, to make changes in order to restore investor confidence. And so in 2003, the SEC adopted rules to implement what we call here SOX, or Sarbanes-Oxley Act, on corporate governance. So these rules were aimed to strengthen auditor independence, basically. So that's the backstory behind the whole idea of auditor independence in recent times. It's because of the corporate, all you need to know is the corporate scandals that happened. Nothing. So what are some of the measures that the SEC approved or endorsed? What are some of these measures? Number one, the rules relating to non-audit services were revised in cases where the independence of the audit firm will be impaired if it provided a non-audit services to the client. So they revised the rules around. So a lot of the rules you are seeing today is because of those scandals. Number two, rules for the rotation of audit partners. So that's where the whole idea of rotating audit partners came. Certain partners on the audit engagement team should be rotated after no more than 5 or 7 years, or 7 consecutive years, right? So 5 or 7 consecutive years. If it's a private company, 5. If it's a public company or a listed company, or what we call in Ghana, there's another name that Caleb likes to use. I think it's listed 7 consecutive years, depending on the partner's involvement in the audit. However, some small accounting firms may be exempt from this. So this is where the whole idea of rotating partners came. You know, in Ghana, I think it's more of rotating clients, right? I'm not sure if rotating partners. I might be wrong though. But in the US, it's more of rotation of audit partners. You know, there are arguments for and against that, like rotating clients versus rotating partners, which are better. The third thing is establish rules that an accounting firm will not be considered to be independent if certain members of the management of the clients had been members of the accounting firm's audit engagement team within the 1 year period. Key here is 1 year period. So they will not be regarded as independent if certain members of management of the clients had been members of the accounting firm or the audit firm audit engagement team within the 1 year period preceding the commencement of the audit, right? So if you have certain members of the clients, members of the management of the clients, with the firm, right? So if you take, let's say, PwC is auditing Vodafone, then Vodafone people come to PwC and come to be part of the engagement team for Vodafone, within the 1 year period, and they are auditing them, they will not be considered independent. Number 4, a firm should not be considered to be independent from an audit client if any audit partner has obtained payments for services relating to engagements with the clients, for services other than audit review and attestation services. Any under the carpet payments. So several things came as a result. Another one, there should be disclosure to shareholders of information about audit and non-audit services. The audit committee of the client should be required to approve in advance all audit and non-audit services. The auditor should be required to report certain matters, to the client's audit committee, So you see, a lot of things came as a result of that. Another key thing that the SEC approved is the creation of the Pceob. So the Pceob is an overseas listed companies in the US. So Pceob, Public Company Accounting Oversight Board. I think I got that right. Yeah. So so those were some of the things that SEC managed to approve after that huge backlash on in terms of corporate scandal. The provision of non-audit services to audit clients. Non-audit services that might impair the firm's independence. What are some of these non-audit services? The Sarbanes-Oxley Act, or lists 9 audit services that are considered to impair the firm's independence if they are provided to an audit client by the firm. So number 1 is bookkeeping services. Number 2, financial information system design and implementation. Number 3, there are a lot of them, but I listed 5 here. Appraisal or valuation services. Number 4, actuarial services. Number 5, internal audit outsourcing services. So these are all services that are considered to impair the firm's independence. If they are auditing, if they are auditing that same client, and you are providing these services, it will impair your independence. Okay, so what are some of the advantages and disadvantages of the auditor providing non-audit services? Please, I would like to know, is it that, I just want to be sure, is it that the explanations I'm giving is clear or is difficult? I don't know, because no one is asking questions at all. So I don't have a problem if you don't have questions, but I want to know, is it sinking? Is it sinking or it's not? So if it's fine, just let me know that it's fine, so that anyway. So what are the advantages of providing non-audit service? The accounting firm is basically would be, if they provide non-audit service, they'll be in an excellent position because they already have extensive knowledge, right? If I'm already auditing the firm and I'm providing a non-audit service, if I'm already if I'm already auditing the clients and I'm providing a non-audit service, it's quite easier because the auditor will already have extensive knowledge of the clients. So it's quite easy for them to, provide a non-audit service. However, there are some disadvantages, right? Because one of the disadvantages is lack of independence. lack of independence. So these are things you need to keep in mind. Now, auditor rotation. Auditor rotation. Now, as I indicated, the need for auditor rotation has been a huge topic, right? I think in Ghana, we rotate after every, say, 4 or 5 years. Yeah, but there's some form of rotation that goes on between the audit firms, like that. In the US, it's different. In the US, you can have an audit firm audit a client for over 50 years. What they do is they rotate audit partners, not the firm. You don't rotate the firm, they rotate the partners. So after this, I just want to know your thoughts. Which one do you think makes sense? In the UK, it's also a rotation of firms, I think. It's a rotation of firms, just like Ghana. No rotation of partners, I think, yeah. The need for auditor rotation has been a topic of discussion following major corporate failures, blah, blah, blah. And there are two different suggestions. Number one is audit partner rotation, which we already talked about, where the lead engagement partner and other key members of the audit team should be rotated regularly. Then you have audit firm rotation, where the audit firm is not allowed to be the auditor for a client for no longer than a specified maximum number of years, which could be like 5 years or 10 years or 7 years, whatever it is. Okay, so for you, what do you think works for you? What do you think makes sense? Partner rotation or firm rotation? Let me get your thoughts.
I think the rotation of the whole firm is better than rotating just the partners, because it's possible that more than one partner becomes familiar to the firm because of the contacts they have with the other partner.
Okay, so you are going for firm rotation. Am I correct? Did I get you right?
Yes, firm rotation.
Firm, okay. Okay, Thomas, why do you think firm rotation?
For example, if say KPMG is auditing Prudential Bank, it's possible that more than one engagement partner will become familiar with the company because they may not be working directly, but because they are clients to the firm, there might be some bits of familiarity.
I see. But what if they change the partner?
Yes, I'm saying that it's possible that you have more than one partner being familiar with the firm because they are clients, not necessarily because they work directly, but because they are clients. Somebody may know somebody there.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean. I see what you mean. That's a good point. Okay. Who is in favor of partner rotation? If you're in favor of partner rotation, in the comments, just say partner. Let me see. Hey, you know one likes partner rotation. Normalized partner rotation. Wow. That's wonderful. Okay, so let's move on. There are several arguments in favor of the rotation of firms providing independent audits, including in a long-term audit relationship, the auditors. So these are arguments in favor of accounting firm rotation, right? Or audit firm rotation. In a long-term relation, the auditors may become too close to management of the client company. This may weaken their professional skepticism and independence. So this is what Thomas was talking about. And yeah, so that's an argument in favor. Now, what are the arguments against? Now, if you know the arguments against firm rotation is like the arguments for partner rotation. So, however, there are also a number of arguments, right? One of the things that is key in audit is quality. So there may be negative effects on audit quality and effectiveness in the first years following a change. That's also possible. There are also substantial costs from changing auditors regularly. Obiana and the price. So as you are changing, there are costs. You know. Another thing is that there is no evidence that compulsory audit firm rotation has a positive impact on audit independence and audit quality. Another thing which is also an issue for me is that, you know, the auditing space is dominated by the Big Four, right? So if you change, you know, if it goes round, it will come back to an audit firm that has audited you previously. So the market for auditing listed companies is dominated by the Big Four. If this domination of the audit market continues, which is probable, it may be difficult to change auditors easily. The other large firms may not have available resources to take on the audit or may not be independent because of other non-audit services that they also provide. So these are some of the issues. Yeah, but it's a whole debate. I don't know which one is correct or which one is wrong. Now, ISA 540, I don't know if you've talked about this. Talks about accounting estimates. I'm not sure if you've mentioned this. But let's just about it and see where that will take us to. Want us to do professional skepticism and all that. So in October 2018, the IASB published ISA 540, which is the revised version of auditing, accounting estimates and related disclosures. The revised ISA would be effective for audits of financial reporting periods beginning on or after December 2019, but early adoption is permitted. Right, so this standard deals with auditing accounting estimates. It deals with auditing accounting estimates, and it looks at how, you know, the thoughts going into the estimates, and even, you know, the disclosures that are required to be made. Now, as we said in the beginning, when we say an exposure draft gives more details into a standard, right? So it tries to expatiate on, you know, a standard that has already been given and give more thought to it, right? So I wouldn't want to bore you with this slide. It's an exposure draft for ISA 315, which we've talked about on assessing the risk of material misstatement. So I wouldn't want to talk about it. Let's move on to professional skepticism. Now, when we talk about professional skepticism, we are saying that the auditor should have a questioning mind, you know. It's one of the key things when it comes to audits. The auditor should always have a questioning mind, be able to question things. It's through proper questioning that, you know, issues come to light. Right? Come to light. So that's very, very important. That's very, very important. Now, there are some in Ghana, right? There are some things that regulate, or some laws that regulate, some laws that regulate the whole audit profession. And there are usually updates to it. So I thought I'd share that as well. Number one is the Companies Act. The Companies Act, I like to call it Act 179 because that's what I remember easily. It's over 50 years old. Due to changes in best business practices and evolution in the way business is done, there has been a need to review this act. Parliament is shortly expected to pass the Companies Act 2018 to provide a safe environment for doing business in Ghana. The bill is to amend the provisions in the Companies Act 179 to be in tune with current business demands. You know.
Hello, sir. A question,
Yes.
please.
Mm-hmm.
I think they have passed this.
Yeah, I think they have passed too. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think they have passed. I was about to say that.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things you would want to note when you are going through your, I don't know if you guys use the ICA book. So the ICA book hasn't updated that. So just take up note of that. Yeah.
So please, can you come again? You mean they have not updated it? Doesn't mean it's not examinable.
No, so in the ICA book, right? I'm not saying it's not examinable. In the ICA book, it says that it doesn't state that Parliament has passed it. I don't know if anyone has seen it. Does anyone use the ICA book? The ICA book, audits, advanced auditing. Does anyone use it? Hey,
No, sir. For me, I don't use it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so let me someone made a comment. Okay. Hey, when people don't use the crowd. It's too much, eh?
Yes, too much.
I see. There's even a Companies Act 2019 that Nanado passed when it came in August.
That's what.
Yeah, there was 2018, and as things have been changing, like they've also sought to, update it. So I'll just have to change that. So that's something to note. Let me even change it in the slide before I send the numbers, I might forget. Okay. Okay. Now, we all know what happened in Ghana last year. Was it last year or last 2 years? I can't even remember. On 31st July 20, okay, was 2 years? Hey, time flies. Oh, was it in 2018 when they revoked 29? Wow, it's actually 2018. Okay, so on 31st July 2018, all of you might have known that government revoked the licenses of Unibank, Royal Bank, Beige Bank, which was, I liked the CEO at the time, Mike Ninaku. So I thought everything was good and okay, but you have Sovereign Bank, Construction Bank, and deposits of all these 5 banks were transferred to a newly established indigenous bank called the Consolidated Bank. Concerns over the 5 banks were raised from 2016 when Unibank and Royal Bank were identified as being significantly undercapitalized. It emerged that the licenses of Sovereign, Beige, and Construction banks were obtained through false pretenses and efforts by these banks themselves to extricate themselves from the financial difficulty were not successful, unfortunately. So what was the whole idea of Consolidated Bank? The creation of Consolidated Bank was part of the efforts of government to address some of these problems in the financial sector and restore confidence and resilience in the financial system. Now, while some of the weaknesses in the sector were attributable to macroeconomic factors, a trend of poor corporate governance, that's one of the key issues, poor supervision, poor risk management practices, all of that led to some of these huge issues that occurred. Now, this is something that you should keep at the back of your mind. The accountancy and auditing profession. The accountancy and the audit profession. Currently, this is how the structure of the audit profession looks like. You have the big 4, you have the second tier, or what they call in the US and other UK and mid-market firms. Then you have the small firms. You have the big 4, second tier, and the small firms. Okay. Now, I wanted to see if I should talk about this, but it's not that. Okay. In most countries, accountancy and auditing practices were originally established as sole practitioners or partnerships, right?